If you're new to GOAT format, Earth Aggro is one of the easiest and cleanest decks that you can pick up in the format. This deck revolves on the aggro strategy, where you could just summon monsters, start beating your opponent, and apply the pressure. If that's your type of style, you've come to the right place. We'll cover the deck list, some tips, but also some games to show it up in action. And also a massive shout out to Echo YGO, Calvin YGO, and Julian for this deck list is very solid, and especially since Julian actually got first place at a 50-person event and won a PS5 on top of that too. So check out the content as well. Starting with our aggro, we have triple Goblin attack force. This card has 2300 attack, and in GOAT format, that's very respectable. This gets over Blade Knight, Gravekeeper Spy. And it's true that at the end of the battle phase that it sets itself to defense mode, which is 0, but it's definitely well worth it. And sometimes this paired up with another Earth monster typically deals 4000 life points, if not more. This is also searchable with Roto too, and it often is able to even beat a Chaos Sorcerer if need to be by attacking. 3 Gigantus. So Gigantus is a special summonable monster that once you have a Earth monster in the graveyard, you can banish it. This is 1900 attack, so it's also very respectable in GOAT format. It's very easy to pair up with another Earth aggro monster to start dealing over 4000 life points. It has an effect when it's destroyed too, that it could destroy all spells and traps on the field, which can make your opponent feel a bit awkward too if they want to preserve certain cards on the field. This also sometimes offers as tribute fodder for any monarchs that you play. In this deck list, we do play Grandmark, for example, too. So this could be a vital play, especially if you need something a little bit bigger to run over. Some strong strategies with this card too is that it's not once per turn on the summoning condition. So if you have multiple of these, you could outright just summon 2 to 3 monsters and your opponent is not expecting that, and you could just win. Double DD Assailant. This is the Earth support with the DD Warriors. So when this one is destroyed by battle by your opponent, then you can banish those cards. A little bit different from DD Warrior Lady, but it is also 1700 attack. That's also getting over a lot of cards in GOAT format. And again, it's a great search target for Rhoda too if you need to as well. Sometimes if you need to get rid of a monster such as like Chaos Sorcerer, Monarch that are a bit bigger, you can purposely run into it with this card too. In terms of recruiters, we have Double Giant Rat. So this card is actually able to get some of your utility Earth monsters. Remember, it's 1500 attack or less. As I showed you, a lot of these are already above that, right? So this is also another card where your opponent, it's like has to kind of deal with and not get something else that's more threatening. It's also an Earth target, so you can purposely crash this against an attack position monster, get something out of your deck, and then now you have something in the graveyard, which this sets you up for a Gigantus later on too, if need to be. I think 2 is a sweet spot. If you play 3, I would feel like you would want more targets at that point too. So feel free to play with the ratios with that. And now for the Earth targets, we have Injection Fairy Lily. This is great because it becomes 3400, which can deal a lot of life points, can get over a bunch of monsters. Another great target is Exile Force, which is also searchable by Rhoda. You can get rid of any problem card during the main phase, which sets you up the rest of your turn to have a more offensive attack too. And then we have revival cards too that could actually reuse this card again too, if need to be. And for further face down hate, we have Mystic Swordsman level 2. So this immediately pops face downs. This is like Gravekeeper Spy, Magician of Faith, Dekochi. Also, if you do play Book of Moon, you could actually force an opponent's monster face down. And at that point, this can get rid of it too pretty easily. Now, this card actually is really good in this deck, surprisingly. Julian did a good job on explaining some of this card interactions. This card is 2400 attack, so it gets over a lot of monsters, including Chaos Sorcerer. Then it pops face down cards, so it's not restricted to just monsters, to just back row. It does either. So if you need to get rid of a potential Gravekeeper Spy, you could just tribute summon, get rid of it. If there's a back row that's kind of unknown waiting for you, that could be Mirror Force, Securita Armor, things like that, we'll pop it. And this pairs up so nicely too with Snatch Steal and Break Control, so that way you take your opponent's monster and then tribute summon this, and then you get to pop another card. So it's really a 2 for 2, which can really swing a game in your favor too. This is also a great target for Premature Burial, Call the Haunted if need to be later on. For some of the generics, we're playing DD Warrior Lady. This gets rid of anything on demand. So the difference with the Assailant is that this can get rid of recruiters pretty easily. So even though you're higher attack for some of them, you want to banish them so you prevent their special summoning effect to go off in the first place. So Rhoda can search you this in those niche case scenarios too. You could also make an argument if you want to play a 3rd DD Assailant, or you can have this and 3 DD Assailants. It's totally up to you as well. To get rid of more monsters too, we have Tribe Infected Virus. So this helps board wipe Scapegoat tokens, Thousand Eyes Restrict too for the GOAT control matchup too. Just a very generic card that's very nice. Also, this lets you discard any Earths that you may not need at that point, and then this lets you summon, special summon Gigantus at that point, because now you have an Earth in the graveyard. We play a Breaker because we don't want back row. This could be 1900 attacker as well. You could also play cards such as like the Rock Spirit for more special summoning Earth monsters too. Totally up to you. I would feel like I would recommend changing the build a bit at that point too. And there's definitely a bunch of Earth monsters that you can just tag for yourself. Just check out the card pool for yourself.
Final Saga has other products that I put their link in the description below if you want to check them out. And feel free to use the code Commander Jaime for an additional discount and any ongoing sales combined as well.
For the spells, of course, we're playing the Trinity here: Pot of Greed, Delinquent Duel, Graceful Charity. All good staples. You want to play Heavy Storm, Mystical Space Typhoon, just to get rid of back row so you can keep applying the pressure without fear. Double Knock, so you can get rid of the face downs, especially Spy, and many more. 2 Rhoda, because you can play 2 in this format too, and you have a variety of targets, especially for the niche case scenarios that you need it for. As mentioned, Premature Burial can actually revive those beaters and reuse some important cards such as like Exile Force, Tribe Infecting Virus, Fairy Injection Lily to finish games. We played the 1 Snatch, but also we played the 2 Rain Control. And so again, this takes monsters from your opponent's side. It's one way to get rid of them or even use them against them. So that could be the final blow that, hey, there's one monster in the way, let me just grab it and now just summon the monsters that I need and finish that turn. Or you can use that as tribute fodder for Grand Mark, as explained already too. For the traps, it's what you expect: Mirror Force to get rid of a lot of the monsters. For the follow-up, we have Ring of Destruction too. This can also be the final finisher because you can activate Ring of Destruction regardless of the life points that both you and your opponent have. So if you are short by 1 attack, you can do this during your turn, during your battle phase, just to pop one of your monsters and just win by life points that way. Especially since you have cards like Goblin Attack Force and Grand Marks, you're dealing 2,300 or 2,400 worth of life points. And of course, the 1 TT just to blow up the field, just in case you do need it. The 1 called the Haunted, revive stuff. Pretty good in this deck just to be able to revive stuff. It's interesting sometimes that once you get into a grind game, sometimes if you revive like a Grand Marg or even like Goblin Attack Force, like your opponent can't get rid of it, especially if they already used their BLS or Chaos Sorcerer or other like beaters prior. Another quick tip too is that if you already have this card set from the prior turn and then you do your follow-up, during your battle phase, you can sneak another attack that way too. So if your opponent's not expecting that, especially if you don't know what their back row is, especially if you think it's a Mirror Force or it might be a bluff, and at that point you can just finish the game too. And again, back row, hey, we have triple Dust Tornado. I think this is a really good pick. Another thing to consider is that you could reduce this and think about like smashing ground, especially if you want to get rid of monsters instead of back row. It really just depends on the metagame that you expect to. So you can play around with those ratios too. And then Double Dart Shoot. So for me, I like the knowledge of the hand too as well. And then if you go in first, this sets you up pretty strong. And you also know what to expect, especially if there's back row that doesn't necessarily affect you and you can attack that next turn without any fear too. I think having knowledge is super impactful for this deck too. You could also think about other trap cards too that may benefit Solemn Judgment if you feel like that's something to stop one thing. The other card that I would consider is maybe Skill Drain. There are Skill Drain base Earth decks too. So because some of these cards are big beaters, and the same thing with Goblin Attack Force, it would eliminate the effect to make it go in defense mode. And now you have a 2,300 beater that stays in attack mode. Also, your Recruiters will work under Skill Drain because they activate in the graveyard. And while Skill Drain doing its thing where it negates even your opponent's effects, that can be very detrimental to their strategy, especially if they don't have an MST or Heavy Storm. So there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to how you want to play Earth Aggro. So we start our turn. We actually have a decent hand too. It's pretty good with searching. Set. We're going to set Trap Dash Shoot, search something just to kind of bait them out and have some type of monster presence. So Trap. We look at their hand. You see some interesting cards. They have the Stalos, the Firestorm Monarch, Blade Knight, and BLS. So we're like, we don't want that Monarch. We actually want to keep the cards in our hand. And also they need Tsukuyomi and Blade Knight here, but they also had Soul Exchange. So that was another reason why I got rid of the Monarch. So here I'm thinking I can pop the Tsukuyomi, which I do, get rid of it. And now I have an Earth and start hitting face. This is primarily the aggro strategy. You want to keep up the pressure. And as long as they don't draw a Monarch in this case, then I don't have to worry about Soul Exchange. And then BLS won't come out unless they have a light. But they get a Tribe. So in this case, they're going to discard, get rid of my rocks. Unfortunately, they're the same type, deal 1,600. So that kind of hurts. But see what we get. So we got 2 Gigantes. And because of that, we able to summon them, both of them. So now we can go for a game because we can still normal summon the Tribe. And really, since it's 1,900 attack, we can run it over, saving our card in hand, but it's basically GG at this point. So I'm going to show off a 2-0 match that is more back and forth. So it's not just the aggro plays. Sometimes you have a bit of a grind game. So we actually got Pot of Greed, we got some decent cards. Giant Rat in attack mode. Again, you want to avoid things like knock, and they have to attack into it if they want to get rid of it. And we set our Trap Dash Shoot. Let's see what kind of information they have. I kept ring just in case they had like a heavy storm. I don't know what they're playing, so I'd rather save it for later just in case. And in this case, they have Mystic Swordsman level 2, Grandmaster Sasuke, and Breaker, which is the Breaker I return because I would rather keep my Ring of Destruction. You also have other cards like Knock, Rhoda, and Ring. That's the other thing, because even if I return one of the warriors, the Rhoda would actually return it back to their hand. They would search for it, essentially. And here, you're going to get the Exile Force. Makes sense. They want to get rid of the Giant Rat, and then they pop it that way. And then they set their Ring. So I know that it's Ring, so they're going to pop whatever it is. So let's force out one of our DDA Silence. And let's see. Yep, they're okay with it. I'm going to attack, and probably this is where they trigger it. So we both lose that same amount of life points, and I have no monster left. Now I feel fine with setting my back row. I know they don't have Heavy Storm. And here they're thinking they're going to set. So I don't know this card. And I'm thinking, okay, this could be a problem card. But the thing is, do I want to force it out? So summon DD Assailant, and I'm going to force it out. Could be bluff, Magician Fave or something. Turned out to be the Spy, which is the worst case scenario, because now they got another monster. And I'm just thinking maybe they'll try to be a little more aggressive next turn and have them all attack, and then Mirror Force will just clean up the field. And they said Jar Greed. That's also an unknown for me. So here I tribute, pop the back row, force it. It's a Jar Greed. In this case, it's unfortunate, but now we know it's nothing crazy. So here I feel pretty safe. I have a bigger monster than they do, and I'm just gonna keep going to get rid of the board. They got the Premature, and this time they're gonna get the Exile Force to get rid of my dude. Makes sense. And then they got the Sasuke out, and they're gonna attack. They play it smart by keeping the Spy in defense, so I'm gonna just ring it just to get rid of it completely and keep the Mirror Force just in case. Here I'm thinking a Tribe might be the right call. I don't suspect they have more sets, plus they already used Spy, so I just got rid of the Swordsman level 2 and attack. Going into setting the Dust Tornado, kind of give them more of a bluff feel. Thinking it's another Power Trap. They set a card, they set their back row. These are bluffs, but then I'm like, okay, Dust Tornado, hit the Knock. Right now it's whatever. Knock doesn't really hurt me. And I'm thinking I could MST and Knock at the same time. So I'm gonna do that actually. MST that. I was like, dual, okay. And then knock the face down. So I just literally clean their back row and their front row. And now I'm just gonna poke for 16. So they're at 500 life points, and let's see what they draw into. And I have Mirror Force, so I'm not scared of them attacking me. And then I have Gigantus now. So I'm just seeing what I have, and special summon it, and GG. I going into game 2, I'm going second, and so I kept Trap Dust Shoot because I felt like I was facing some type of Chaos Turbo, maybe Go Control. So I was like, okay, you still want to get rid of some cards and have knowledge. So that was my mindset. Going second though, Trap Dust Shoot is kind of rough. So I'm just thinking here, I'm like, I have nothing to summon here. So I'll set at least one of the Trap Dust Shoots. Actually, I did both. So if they pop one of them, I guess I get to resolve one of them. And which they do, which I think is the right call. It's a 1-for-1 at that point, bait it out. And then I'm like, all right, let's see what you got working with. They got Cypher Soldier, they got Call to BLS, Heavy, Breaker, and Magician of Faith. So it's tough. They have Heavy Storm, and I felt like the Magician of Faith might be good to get rid of, just so they don't have a light for VLS, essentially. That was my thinking. And they have to really work with Breaker or the Cypher Soldier if they really want to summon something. So they're doing the Cypher Soldier. This only works against warrior types. And I'm like, okay, I mean, that's fine. Take that damage, go to my turn. All right, let's see. I got a monster that I could actually summon. And funny enough, it's a warrior too, right? But I was just thinking, I'm like, I could just get rid of it. And I have both Brain Control and Snatch Steal. And I have double Grand Mark, which is pretty nutty. So I'm going to do the Brain Control. I think I should have done Snatch first. And because I know they have heavy Storm later. So in case I need to keep a monster with Snatch, Heavy Storm can put it back to them. Hopefully it doesn't bite me later, essentially. So they're snatching me. Okay. They set Call the Haunted and they're swinging. All right. Makes sense. Life points at 3450 for me, 5600 for them. And I'm like, okay, I get 1000 back and I do the snatch to snatch. And this is the risk what I was talking about. What if that was an MST? What if that was a Dust Tornado? Luckily it wasn't. And I was able to resolve my skill, force to Call the Haunted, but they chain it. And remember, this destroys set cards. So because they did it face up, it stays on the board and they get to resolve it on top of that. So, but it's okay. Grand Mark is a rock, so it'll get over the Cypher Soldier. And then I can still deal more damage with the DD Assailant. And in this case, they don't have any lighter darks yet. So BLS is still dead in their hand. But now they got the tribe that they drew into. They got rid of Heavy Storm because there's no back row that I have. And then they're doing it again. They discarded the BLS. That really must hurt. Like, because you have no targets for BLS, so I understand. But that must really hurt. And they dish out 1600. I'm at 2850 now. So I'm like, okay, this isn't the best, but I'll set the Mirror Force and a bluff, knowing that they discarded Heavy Storm. So I'm cool. But they have the Breaker still. And that's part of the reason too, is that they had to pick one. So I wanted them to pop the bluff, and they did. And this is where it pays off, the Mirror Force. I'm like, oh, thank God. It worked out so nicely in this scenario. And they only have one card. It's dual. So for me, technically, I have no fear. And I drew a Breaker. This is why these generics are really solid. So then I'm just going to get rid of it. I don't know what it is, so let's just get rid of it. And it's a dual. I was like, okay, whatever. Bluff. And swing for 16. They're at 1250. And I'm still at 2850. And it's GG because it's TT. So now I just need to make sure I don't summon. And me taking the moment to read their graveyard, it could be a Mirror Force or it could be a Torrential Tribute. And I win if it's Torrential. Another turn passes by if it's Mirror. So either way, I just like, let's just not summon and then attack. I could always summon in May phase 2. And I won. This deck is fun. It's been pretty cool. Just testing out the waters with Earth Aggro. Very solid. And again, you could always tweak it to your preference too. And if you're interested in more deck guides, check out this whole playlist that I have for GOAT format too. On to the next one, amigos. Bye.